Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Mark, we are the Noodlebergs. Today we're going to be discussing celebrating the wins and how to walk the balance of rewarding yourself and the people around you. Let's find our edge. That starts with the affirmation. If you don't pause to celebrate the win, you teach yourself that winning doesn't matter. How do you know when to celebrate the wins? You're celebrating the wins right now.
What are we celebrating today? Come on, let's just get it out. Where does this conversation come from?
Playing that thing around a little bit.
Do you know what time it is? Let me tell you. So I'm celebrating a couple of milestones. This is my 65th month, which I'm so thrilled. Never been happier. And because of where I am and what we've all collectively achieved, I did something really special for myself, and that I'm a first-time Rolex buyer.
Right.
So,
and I want to preface
milestone
that you got emotional. Like it was an emotional experience.
Yeah.
You doing this and celebrating is an emotional trigger, I think. But the question is, when are you supposed to? And what are other people going to think about it when you do? And do you beat yourself over, because you spent the money? And what does that mean? And spending it on different things. And I think you're such a great case study because you spent a lot of money doing a lot of different things, but you've never really been a tangible guy. Buying a watch.
I'm an experienced guy. But when I look back at my career, the choices I made put me in a position where I didn't want to indulge on myself. I wanted to take care of everybody. I did what I thought I should do. And I think a lot of people in my age category did not grow up with a feeling of abundance.
Right.
And I preach it all the time, and I go, there's so much abundance. Your loss or your win doesn't make it my loss.
Right.
So here I am, I'm 65 years old. And if I'm keeping score, which I teach people, we chose a profession that we keep score, I'm pretty fucking lucky. And that goes against everything in my life.
Well, you said something which I think was really interesting because you said, I wanted to take care of the people around me, which is a sense of rewarding yourself as well, right?
Yeah.
But that's also can be exhausting when you're rewarding everybody else all the time and not rewarding yourself. So there is a discussion to be had here about what's worth celebrating, when should you celebrate, how should you celebrate. We've talked about the 24-hour rule before.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're not allowing the watch to now stop you from doing all of the things that have led you to success, and it's not changing the forward movement for you. It's just a milestone for you. It's a marking of a time, which every national championship gets marked with a ring.
I think for you guys, the ring is a good simile to this.
But there are levels to celebrating, right? And what you celebrate, like look at the Panthers, for example. They are going to go to their third straight Stanley Cup. The first year they made it, they historically grabbed the Eastern Conference trophy, which is terrible luck.
Bad luck.
And then they lose, and then the next year they don't touch it. This year they didn't touch it again. And we're sitting here going, winning the Eastern Conference trophy isn't good enough anymore.
Right.
And so as you celebrate, does it need to continuously increase to have the same emotion? Or...
to be a high performer, you have to continuously move the goalpost.
Yeah.
Because if you feel like you've reached the mountaintop ever, it's over for you. It's done, right? Because somebody else who has the edge, thank you, the Daily Edge show, somebody else who has that edge is eventually going to knock you off, and you're no longer going to find yourself in that high performer role. So there's like this balance of, I really enjoy what's happening right now, and I know this moment is really special, yet there's more to be done. either the job's not done, famous Kobe Bryant post game, job's not done, job's not done. There was no celebrating for him in that moment. No. I think there's extremes that have been portrayed on both sides, grabbing the cup and being like, "Oh my God, we won the Eastern Conference," and then there's this massive, there's a massive letdown after that, right? So like, there's this balance that has to happen. But my answer to the question is, how do you know when to celebrate? Always. You should always be, and we do it every Wednesday.
Well, there are degrees in our celebration.
We do it every Monday. What are our wins?
Right. So there are all of that. It's interesting because it brought me back to, when I had tons of salespeople that were working with me. I made them all have vision boards. Like, what's next? The house, the boat, the car. For me, I remember buying my first Mercedes. Like, it changed the way I felt. I showed up differently. People viewed me differently. So it was a physical marker of success. But then I had to earn that. I had to pay for it and do it. And then I think, so I'm a fan of to your point, you got to be searching for what's next, and material things just crystallize it.
Right. So I'm glad you said that, because I was going to go there. Like, it's not about the material thing. The material thing just happens to be something that it captures the moment for you, right? Like the ring, we have lots of rings. Let's talk about rings for a second, right? College football is ridiculous.
My boys.
They hand out rings for like every single bowl game that you ever go to that mean like absolutely nothing.
I don't think people know that
we got a, what was it? The SEC East
divisional champion.
We got division championship rings one year.
Enough is enough already, right? So like, but the ring. But you still have them. I have a box of rings.
Wait.
But
did
they're
you also
only
get the watches? Did you get the watches?
Yeah, the watches too. Yeah, like the Champs Bowl watch, bro. So, but there are 3 rings that mean a lot to me. Right, one is Bobby Bowden's final season that has his head on it. It has that season on it, and that was a time that it's special. Even though we didn't win a national championship that year, the end of his career, the moving into Jimbo's era, that time that ring means that for me. Our first ring at Cincinnati, we won the AAC. They had not won the conference in a long time. We broke every offensive record that year. That ring means something to me. And then I will tell you the ACC championship in 2012, because we had gotten there and lost 2 years prior. And so knowing what it was like to get over that hump, even though we didn't get to the national championship that year, those 3 rings mean a lot for me. The rest of them mean nothing.
To either of you, and I think Dad answered this already a little bit, but is there any negative to tying success to a materialistic thing? Like, is that a dangerous path to set that for a young person?
If it's the only thing,
right?
It's the only thing, yeah, because it'll never.
Because I love that even when we asked you about it, and I said, "Hey, you got emotional." Like, it wasn't about the watch; it was about everything else.
The moment.
It wasn't about, "Oh my God, I finally have a Rolex."
Well, shout out to our friend.
Yeah, shout out Weston Jewelers.
Weston Jewelers.
Taking care of us.
He had been saying to me for years, dude, you're a successful guy.
You need a Rolex.
You need a Rolex. And I was like, bullshit. I don't need a Rolex. I don't need it. But I got to the point where I wanted it,
right?
And I did my homework, and I was so blessed to be able to do it. That living in this moment of where I can look at my wrist and go, I earned that motherfucker.
Because when you said you haven't done something like this for yourself, really, and that you've been making,
some people would question that.
Right? Listen, don't.
There's some things.
Right, there wasn't a charity,
this is a giant purchase for you, even you, and this is a giant moment. Like, what would be your advice to somebody who might be younger and might be making a lot of money right now, and might be tying a lot of his success or his or her success to materials and money,
to the M6,
right? To
the penthouse,
right?
The penthouse.
I have a $5,000 apartment. I drive a BMW.
All my suits are $3,000.
So I think it's a great question.
Right?
I think it's a great question because it brings me back to my mid-30s when I had lots of stuff and was empty. I had nothing. I didn't have the family bonds that I have now. I didn't have the friends I have now. I wasn't as confident. You know, I just, all of the things that are happening in my life now, working with you guys is the blessing of blessings. I don't need anything material to do that because I get to watch it and see it. So I go back to, I looked around one day and I go, yeah, I can go on vacation and yeah, I can have cars and houses. And I think a lot of people with money, you know, they forget what it means, you know, and this has very deep meaning to me. For me, it's not a fake. I don't care if anybody else sees it. We talked about doing the show, and I was like, I don't know.
The question: how do you know when to celebrate? Right? It's a feeling.
Yeah,
it's a feeling. It's not necessarily a goal. It's not necessarily hitting your quota. It's not necessarily losing 5 pounds. That's not actually it. It may be. It could just be that you didn't hit the metric. But the other things happening in your life are the right things happening, and the moment is worth capturing.
So I got to jump in.
You have to do that.
I got to tell you, if I didn't get to watch, I would not be unhappy.
Sure.
So I think for me, small wins get you to big wins. You know, so all of the daily stuff that I do, I've done my whole career. All of the stuff that you do, all of the wins with the people we work with, you know, are so rewarding. I never saw myself as a coach. Now I help people. I get feedback like that's crazy.
I'll give you a real-time example of somebody that I worked with who was in business development, and they could not remove success from closing the deal. It was the only thing they would look at as success, and it actually was their downfall because it made it so hard for them to discipline themselves to the process.
Didn't Coach Saban say something about that?
It made it so hard for them to do what they needed to do every day in order to close deals. And they had no other metric or vision of success other than that. So there were no wins being celebrated. They were only focused on the outcome, and they were not able to do it.
And I think as Americans and a lot of people, we have a weird relationship with money. Like we feel weird when we spend it. We feel weird when we make it. We feel weird when we don't make it. Like it creates all these different feelings.
I felt guilty.
Right?
Yeah,
like there is this
beat.
Like I'll tell you for a personal example, like spending 17 days in Europe for me was alarming. Right. Like I got the bill after and I was like, who do I think I am? Right? But
you did it.
But it almost served as like this elevator back down the mountain where I was like, I feel awesome that I was able to do that. And now I want to go do it exponentially more. Right. Not because of the actual thing, but because I did it.
Right.
And it was the ownership. Now mine was traveling. His is a walk. Like whatever that is, that gave ownership to my behavior. And at the end of the day, we're only here for 75 years. There's got to be a purpose behind everything. And living a good life is purposeful. I
think if it's the only thing you're shooting for,
well, you're going to be left. Yeah.
Then that's a trap.
Well,
I think if it's you're loving everything, and as a byproduct of all of those small wins, you get this thing to
This
reward
is going to
yourself.
lend really well to our next conversation because we're going to dive into imposter syndrome.
If you're not subscribed, please subscribe.
So yeah, make sure that you have subscribed to the show, that you're liking and you're commenting, so that you'll see the next conversation. But the edge for today is that you absolutely have to celebrate the wins, because if you do not celebrate the wins, you teach yourself that winning is not important, and you make it very hard for yourself to do what we talk about all the time, which is discipline yourself to the process. It's not about grinding away at it. It's not about making yourself miserable just to do it. It's actually about finding joy in the process, which means you celebrate the wins.
Well said.
So make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for finding the edge with us. We'll see you next time.